think it'll count us down. Okay. Oh, we got people in the chat here too. Can you see the chat?
I'm taking a picture of something right now. I can look at the chat. Yeah.
All right, cool. Because like sometimes people like comment stuff and ask questions, and all fun stuff. All right, we are live. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies. Was running a little late today, but when am I not? I have with me a very special guest tonight. Somebody I've known for what is it? Where are we going on? 26 years now.
Yeah, about that long.
Literally kindergarten. It's freaking crazy.
Yeah. Going strong.
Yeah. And you know what's like? What were you telling me like the one time, like the story about how I threw up a steak on like the lunch lady's shoe or something?
I think we were like going into fourth grade. We were in third grade, going into fourth, and we were in summer camp together. And it was like a really hot day out, and your mom packed you like cut up strips of like cold steak, and we were sitting across from each other. And I was like, yeah, I'll have a piece. And like right as you handed me a piece and I started eating it, you just like vomited all over the table. And I remember the camp counselor was like, when you're that young, they seem so old, but looking back, the kid must have only been like 16, didn't know what to do. So he threw you over his shoulder and we all had to walk down to the nurse's office together. We were so young then.
Oh shit! And the crazy part was like I like vaguely remembered that, and then you brought it up, and I was like, oh shit! And like when we're kids like that, the counselors feel like they're so like old and wise, and then my brother actually like L, and he was a camp counselor at the same camp that we used to go to, and he's like yo like he said the same thing. He's like, I felt like these counselors were like wise beyond their years and everything, and he's like, now I am like, he's like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah. So funny how the tables have now turned.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know the first thing about taking care of children, which actually brings us to tonight's topic, because I know that this is one that kind of hits close to home for you, and that's why I would really thought there was like nobody better to come on and talk about this one.
Yeah, I'm all about it. This is my absolute, not my favorite topic, but this is definitely a topic that I have a lot of experience with, we'll say.
Yeah. So tonight's topic is how society treats women who don't want to have children. So I guess I'm just kind of gonna turn it over to you, and you can tell us, about a little bit about your experience and your views on it.
All right, so I'll start from, I guess, the time that I knew that I didn't want children, because that's an important backstory. I've always known since I was very young that I didn't want to have a baby, and I was always also skeptical on getting married. Just for reference, for anybody who cares, I'm straight, I'm 30 years old, and I'm in a committed relationship right now. But I always questioned marriage, and I knew I never wanted children. And I had, the people who you call cousins, they're not your blood cousins, but your parents' best friend and whoever. My mom's best friend had 7 kids, and they started having children when they were younger, 16, 17, 18. So I wasn't too far behind them. And they would come over with their babies, and I wanted, honestly, nothing to do with these babies. And, for a little girl, that's typically out of place. And when I was younger, I never wanted to play with baby dolls. I wanted RC cars and crafts and just anything that wasn't a baby doll. So growing up, I never really mentioned this because obviously when you're young, you don't talk about this openly. But then as you get older and you start dating and, even when you're a teenager, people around you do start getting pregnant, and it's a very weird world to start blossoming into when you're understanding, wait, am I not, what society calls normal? Is this not a typical choice for women? Like, I didn't know where to navigate myself, but I was firm on the fact that I knew I never wanted kids. So now fast forward to I am about, I don't know, early to mid 20s, and I start opening up to people, and I'm telling people, it's just not something that I want, not something that I'm really interested in. I just have my reasons as to why. And then I was intrigued to find out that people were actually like intrigued and almost offended that I wasn't going to be reproducing. Like they see women, at least from my opinion and the reactions that I've got, a lot of the times women are painted into this like plastic mold of like what society wants you to be. Even in the year 2021, you know, when we have all of this equality happening around us, I still get it all of the time. Not so much anymore since I am 30 years old now, but a perfect example was where I was at one of my jobs, one of my favorite jobs, and one of my coworkers, I was telling him, he was older, he already had a family, his kids were a little bit younger than me. You know, I'm really not gonna have kids, I don't think. It's just not like a thing that I want for my future. And then he just gave me the classic lines. He threw every one of them out me. And he didn't mean to be disrespectful, but he completely was. He said things like, "You're young, you'll change your mind. Who's going to take care of you when you're older? What's the matter? You don't like babies? They're just so cute. You know what? You're going to regret it if you don't do it." And it was just nothing on purpose to be disrespectful, because he was a great coworker. We were friendly, and he would say all these things with a smile on his face and almost giggle. And you know, once or twice is fine, and then you know, people just say it to me and say it to me and say it to me, and I started to get boiled over. And it's just crazy how people really look at you so differently when you're a woman who's at that childbirth age and you have to break the news to them like it's their news to even bear. It's not, but you have to break the news to them that you're not going to be reproducing like a typical woman does, and people just become shocked. Like I just could not. I still to this day in 2021, I just still can't believe the reaction that I get from people. I mean, you've heard, you know, me complain about this a couple times in the past because people are just ruthless, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna say I know that this is an issue that we've talked about throughout. Pretty much. I mean, I'm 31, you're 30 now, and this is something we've talked about pretty much throughout the throughout both of our 20s. I mean, like we've had many drunken conversation about this kind of thing.
Yep.
Carolina Hermes says that's so true, and it's like I guess like when that guy was talking to you, he probably didn't realize, but I would imagine it starts to like come off as like condescending.
It does when you keep telling the opposite party, "No, I know what you're saying, but I will probably just be in a nursing home and have somebody take care of me," or, you know, "I'd rather just take care of my dogs than change diapers," and you try to just be lighthearted about it and you keep combating it. But these people just keep saying things because maybe their life has been fulfilled by children. I know that my life will not be fulfilled by children. My life will actually take the complete opposite turn. And I really can't stand when people just say these things to me because they don't understand how offensive it is. And you know me, and I'm not somebody who gets offended easily. But this is just something that I've had to deal with. And it's like, you know, every time somebody says something, it kind of just chips away. I mean, it does also build up my wall against them at the same time. But oh my gosh, it's just like repetitive. And I'm very happy for the people who, you know, have given birth and their children are like their purpose in their life. That's great. That's not for everybody, though. And I think that that's a hard pill for certain people to swallow, but they got to swallow it. Otherwise, I'll give them an enema of it.
Our boy Yoshi Ki80 says nursing home is mostly my uncle. Well, word, you guys can hang out in the nursing home together. So
You know, I
yeah,
worked in a nursing home. That's the job that I was actually just referring to, where my coworker was saying all these things. And let me tell you, it's not really a bad place. My coworkers who I worked with, we had great relationships with our patients, and we had a great time, and we formed a very special bond with these patients. You know, whether they were there for the remainder of their life or whether they were just there for rehab. I mean, it is what it is. You know what? You can't feel bad about how your life, pans out.
yeah. Just when you're in said nursing home, just don't drive a jeep into like the courtyard because like that that should we tell everybody that that was a good like that. Oh, my dad was so pissed.
There are forever trees planted in my memory now.
Yeah, so this one time, this was what, maybe we were like, oh God, I was like, what, 19, 20, around then. We were trying to play beer pong in my backyard. I had like a party and we had like some friends over and like the lights were out. So, Cap pulls up. That's our little nicknames, by the way, Cap and Skip. I don't even know how that came. That came about like 10 plus years ago.
I couldn't recall, and that's how you get the best nicknames, is when you can't recall how you got them.
It just stuck one day. But so we couldn't get lights in the backyard, and I'm like, shit, I want to play beer pong. And I think you were like, don't worry, I got this. And like you like got in your Jeep and went up the curb and positioned the Jeep so that the lights were shining on the beer pong table. So, we played through the night, everybody's drunk, it's a good time, everybody goes home. I think my dad was at like a convention or something, and I'm like, oh shit, he's coming home. So I get out the lawnmower. I'm like, I gotta mow the lawn so he doesn't see and you had like 35s on that thing.
Yep.
That
huge
was
tires, monster tires.
That Jeep was intense. So I'm like, shit, I gotta I gotta mow the lawn now to so I mow the lawn, and my dad, I thought I covered it up pretty well. And my dad comes in and he's like, what the hell? And he's like, there are tire tracks across the yard. What the hell is this? So I'm just like, So he goes out this is how petty. And my dad, he listens to this. So Dad, if you're listening, now you know the truth.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to trouble you.
Well, it was, this was more than 10 years ago. So he's cool with it now. I might have even told him one time, but so he's like, so he like a day later he comes back and plants like 2 shrubs, right where the opening in the curb was,
completely blocking my path into the backyard.
Yep. So as if he basically knew that he's like, we're gonna stop any possibility of this happening again. But
it's fun times.
Yep. But so it's kind of like, I guess like some people can't really okay. Oh, here we go. Let's address this one. What do you think about the incoming incel revolt that'll reintroduce hard patriarchy? You want to take that one?
Nope. I don't really know how to respond to that one, honestly.
I don't think that will happen. I just But anyway. Anyway, so I guess my thing has always been like I've always looked at it as like you shouldn't really like make your business onto other people's business, like what you think might be right for. I've always been like people we shouldn't tell people how to be. There needs to be some things obviously need to be regulated because people can harm other people, but it's funny too because everybody's gonna watch. Everybody lumps you into a political category because they're gonna be like, oh, Jay Tahoe, what a liberal, this guy's a hardcore feminist and stuff. And me, I'm the first one to be pro gun and everything. You can't, if you agree with different aspects of things, people just lump you into one political category.
Right.
It's so annoying. But I'm yeah, at the end of the day, I'm if you don't want it, if a woman doesn't want to have children, that's their right. Nobody should really tell anybody how to live their life.
Right.
The
thing is that it doesn't directly affect anybody else's life, and if it does in the sense of that individual's family members, then that's just them honestly being very selfish to a point where you really need to set up boundaries then. Because the thing is that your life is your own life. And I actually just experienced this last weekend. Not this weekend that just passed, but the weekend previous. I won't go into too much detail, but my partner's family, a member of my partner's family, I was talking to this individual, and this individual said, yeah, the family just loves babies and we love having babies around, and we just think that you're kind of cold for hating babies, and we know that you don't want to have one. And my jaw dropped because it's crazy how people will also just judge a book by its cover and correlate women who don't want to have children with women who hate babies. Now, I really, most times I'll be quite frank. Most times I actually don't enjoy the presence of children. And it's just how I am, but I'm never going to be a douchebag to a child. Like, I don't make it known. I mean, it's really just crazy how people just will insert their opinions, their unwanted opinions into your life and into your situation. And this, my partner's family member, obviously this is directly related to him. And my partner doesn't want to have children either. That's another big thing. I've always have only ever dated individuals who I know from the get-go don't want to have children. And I was completely floored to hear this person say, we were so excited for you to have babies, and then we found out that you don't want a baby. Hello, it's not just me. It's your family member who I'm dating who also does not want a baby. Like, you can't, but it's because I'm the woman that people pin this directly onto me, which just is like, I don't know if this will ever be phased out. I really hope that it does. But then, will racism ever be phased out? Like, will keto ever be phased out? I mean, I feel like it's just part of life, but I will always be an activist towards this because it's really, really crazy. And yeah, for the comment that Carolina also said, it's really, really sad for the people who anatomically, or, their anatomy, how they're born, or if it's a medical condition where they can't have babies, that might just be a cover story. If somebody says, I don't want to have children, they might just be saying that because they don't want to get into their own personal history about maybe, they had cancer, or maybe they, for whatever reason that they can't have them. And then you have these people saying, oh, well, you're going to regret it. That's probably a deep, deep scar of theirs. And then here you are addressing it. It's just not your place. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like when people like tell you what you should want out of life. That's something that it bothers me a lot too when other people like tell you what you should want. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's your life to live. Like no matter what that may be. Like I know some people are like you're gonna have like listen. We're a lot of our audience, right? There are people who disagree with us very much. Like you're gonna see like look at this guy here. He's saying P is a human, right? And I mean he's obviously trolling, but there are people out there who actually believe that. Like
Yeah.
it's like Man, I just want to shout out Nemesis real quick. What's up, Jay? What's up, bro? That Nemesis, by the way, great artist. That guy makes good stuff. So
Sick. I'll check them out.
check him out. But yeah, it's like like people telling other people what they should want. It's almost like equivalent of like telling like a gay person, hey, like oh no, you're just going through like like maybe not like direct parallel, but you know what I mean? When like the parents are like, well, maybe that's not really what you want, and like a lot of those people like already knew from like a young age, no, like this is what I'm into, and like it's not
Well, that's
changing.
exactly it. You can't make this decision like, consciously. It's just embedded into your DNA. And it's so funny that you brought up that example of homosexuality because that is exactly actually one day when I got really fed up with my old coworker, that's what I clapped back at him with. And I said, look at it this way. You keep telling me you're young, you'll change your mind, you just don't know what you're missing. And I spun it around to him on that way. And I didn't mean it to be, like offensive or to be like diminishing of like homosexual people, but I just did it just to get the point across. I said, that's like me telling you, you're straight now and you have a wife, but one day, you know what? You're going to be gay. And you're not going to have, any say in it. You're just going to be gay one day. And then I said to him, is that ever really going to happen to you in real life? And he looks at me quizzically and he says, what the hell? No, I'm never going to be gay. I know that I'm never going to be gay. And I said, right. That's the same correlation with me. I know I'm never going to have children because I don't want children and I know it. Same way that you know that you're indefinitely straight and you're not homosexual. That's just how it is. It is what it is. It's embedded in your DNA. And granted, some people absolutely do change their mind, but that's the beauty of life is having, free will. Live and let live.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like the inherent danger of trying to get people to kind of trying to like coerce people into doing stuff that they don't want to do. I mean, even when we saw it, like in like the 1950s, right? You could never be, openly gay, whereas like now, you can. But it's like, people were gay guys would be like, they'd commit to an act, right? They'd marry a woman, and what would happen, like, you'd see suicide, or they'd lash out at the family. And it's the same thing. Like, you have, like, you tell somebody who doesn't want a child, and they, just do it to like satisfy everybody, maybe, and like eventually they become like not. And again, it's not. I don't think like not wanting children is equivalent to hating babies. Like, everybody like seems to jump to extremes. It's like, hey, I'm sure it's a nice thing, and brings happiness to a lot of people, but not for me.
Right.
And when you make people do things that they don't want to do, they tend to grow resentful.
Oh, so much resent. And I mean, I say that. I say, you know what? I don't want to bring a child in this world and resent it, because what's worse, me not having a child, or me having a child and then that child having a lot of emotional trauma and damage because I somehow end up being this horrible mother? It's just, it's the choices shouldn't be between the two, you know?
Like here, Carolina says, it's really bad when people believe they have a saying about your life decisions. I don't want children either. I decided that in my 20s.
Right. Right.
So that's the thing, is like everybody has, I guess, has their own, interpretation of how society should be, or how everybody should be. But the way I look at it is, you get one life, and you shouldn't live that based on what everybody else around you wants. You get one life, so do with it the things you want to do. And if that's seeing the world and not settling down, and you want to travel and you have the means, you don't want to settle down, you don't want to start a family. A lot more millennials are doing that now. Our generation is doing that more than ever, because one, we don't have the financial means, most of us don't have the financial means to like buy homes and have a nuclear family anyway, for one. But two, like, millennials are kind of realizing that, like, hey, there's a lot more to life than, working and paying bills. And, there's a whole world out there. Maybe we should go see it, before we die.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own prerogative as to why they choose to have children or don't. Same thing as to why you choose to, get married or you don't. I mean, the thing is that it's a very personal decision. And I really just wish that people would just, you know, hear me say it out loud. I'm choosing to not have children, and I wish that their reaction would just be to smile. Y'all can think whatever you want to think. That's the point. I don't care. Just keep it to your goddamn selves, because you know what? Your opinion doesn't matter to me. Your opinion is unwanted unless you're going to be supportive of me. Even with a smile and just say the word interesting, that's still even supportive of me. I just want people to like really fully grasp it, that it is not an okay thing to say these like, out of date phrases. Oh, you'll change your mind. Well, who will take care of you? Don't you want somebody to love? What's your purpose in life? Like, oh my gosh, like my purpose in life is to like eat Taco Bell and be a dog mom. I'm happy that your purpose in life is to do macrame and wipe butts. I'm super happy for you. There's literally nothing wrong with that. That's what you want to do in life, then you do it, boo. I don't care. Just leave me be. Like, ugh. I've gone through this like so many times, and I was really hoping that I would, outgrow it after a certain age. And here I am, 30 years old, and just last weekend I had to hear it. So who knows how long this is going to keep going on for, but I'm here for the battle because I like to be a voice for those who don't always want to speak up, be a voice for those who don't have any, or be a voice for those who, are still making this life decision and feel uncomfortable about it. I actually posted a pretty nice status on my Facebook. I no longer have my Facebook anymore, however, at least temporary. But I posted a status, pretty much just justifying the women who do not and cannot have children. And I put a whole thing saying how it doesn't mean we hate kids. It doesn't mean, that it's a permanent decision for all of us. For me, it is. You don't have the right to say things to me. Like, I one time had a woman ask me, well, she laughed. She laughed and thought that I wasn't being serious. And she's like, ha ha ha, what, do you not have a soul? how does that correlate to a woman making a life decision? Like, it just is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will like try to like we see it like a lot in like the streams I've been on when you don't agree with somebody's world paradigm, it's all about making you the bad guy, right? It's all about making
Mm-hmm.
you like, like, oh, you're so blue pilled, or you're so this or that. It's just like I'm gonna live life how I want to live it. Like I do not use drugs, for example, right? But I've always
Mm-hmm.
said since day one, you can go back to like to probably middle school when I was saying like, why is that illegal? If people want to do that in their own time, more power to them. I'm not going to tell people how to live life. You want to snort coke, go right ahead. Not my goddamn business to tell you what to do.
Yeah, you want to do some fucking bath salts and zombie out on the floor? You do you, honey boo. I don't give a fuck.
You go right ahead. It's like as long as it's not like hurting anybody else, I really don't. I really don't see what the point. Like there has to be. I think we need to find that balance where there's obviously like restriction. Like no, you cannot go. You not go on a shooting spree. Like yeah, obviously like those people need to be locked away forever. But like like the trying to tell people like how to live life and like the laws around it are just like to me it's just ridiculous.
It really is. I mean, I really do hope that we just keep going further and further into the future of comprehension. We've definitely come a long way since, the whole stigma of housewives, two kids, husband works at a desk somewhere. Like, we've come a long way since that. And I'm not knocking that stigma either. If that's people's, world and if that's what they want to have their future look like, that's a beautiful future. It really is a beautiful future, but it's not for everybody. And I just really hope that one day soon, I hope that it just, occurs to people soon that, a woman's life choice is a life choice that only affects her life and her partner's life. And, like me and my partner, we have decided this together. It's not like I'm hindering him from a future. That's what a lot of people think as well. Perfect example is my partner's family member saying, "We were so excited for you to have for they were saying for him, they said for him to have a baby, and then we found out that you don't want a baby, and we're just upset." It's not just me. It's not just the woman. It's the man in my relationship too. And people are just so diluted, I feel like sometimes. I guess from here on out, only time will tell. But I will always be a voice for this because it's just crazy how people really, really do think that there is like this preset plastic mold that a woman should fit into. And even the people who say, no, I'm open, I'm, new radical, there's always an inkling of something in the back of somebody's mind that maybe a woman shouldn't shave her head. Maybe a woman shouldn't work a construction job. Maybe a woman they always should have a baby because they're able to. Like, I don't know. I could go on a real rant about this, but tell me more about what your opinions are on this.
Yeah, I mean, like I've said, like I've known this about you for a long time, and I know other people who aren't necessarily interested in having children. And I think if you want to, if you want to, have if you want to have dogs and you want to travel, and or there's other things that fulfill you. Some people, however that may be, right? Maybe you want to, become a farmer, grow, get into gardening, whatever is your purpose, whatever you find to be important to you. I'm in support of that. Some people want to focus. Some people want to spend their life building their career. Some people want to see the world. Some people like for me, for example, I want to have a bunch of crappy cars and fix them up. But how much people have crapped on me. Why'd you buy that thing? Why'd you spend your money on that? Why'd you do that? That thing's a piece of crap. And I'm like, because it makes me fucking happy,
It's
right?
so
Like
annoying. Like, just shut up. Oh my god.
I'm like, no, you could have gotten, you could have done this. That was a waste of money. To me, it wasn't. I had a fuck ton of. Remember the time when we were in my Ford Explorer, we got that shit airborne. Like we were
There was
driving through the
definitely
power
more than
lines.
one occasion when that happened, though. Between your Exploder and my Wrangler over the train tracks, oh man.
Yeah, I think my phone fell out. Yeah,
I
Mary
want to
knows
hear.
about my cars, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I know. I see it. I want to hear from Carolina. Have you had any instances when you decided that you didn't want to have children where people, ragged on you, whether they tried to do it politely or not? I'm sure that you've had instances where people have said something to you. I want to hear what you have to say because I know that I'm not alone. And I've spoken to a lot of women about this. And like I was saying, referencing back to my Facebook status, I actually had people messaging me and women messaging me, and they were saying, thank you for putting that status up. Mind you, they didn't want to comment on it publicly. And these were women who I knew. Actually, one of our childhood friends commented on it. I'll text you about it afterwards. But she had said to me, you know, I can't have any children, and all I just tell people is that I don't want them because it just makes it easier, and I don't want the pity party. So I tell people that I don't want children, and then they give me that twisted face look, and I'm so thankful that you put this status up because it makes me feel less alone. You never know what the hell people are going through, whether it's a personal life choice or, like I said, whether it's it's a choice that they're not making and their body's making it for them. You just don't know. So people just need to fuck off with the comments about a woman's choice and her life. And that's how I feel about that.
And Carolina says, "Oh yes, several times from several different people." Actually, Carolina, if you want to come on and talk about that too, I can drop you the link if you're free. But yeah, it's it seems like for people who are in that position, like just the fact that you're getting that kind of feedback seems to be it's a pretty common thing. I wanted to call out this one. So Medican's like this void complaining about how easy her life is. So the point is, Medican, is that it's not easy because people are trying to like force their will onto her, like what they think she should be. Like I don't see how that's like okay. You saw his comment earlier about how like you have all like these options for who you can date. That's not everything in life.
Right.
That's like, if you see it like that, that's like that doesn't not for everybody. That doesn't mean happiness.
Yeah, especially considering my life choice because I've had to actually end a couple relationships because, in the beginning, I've always been very clear from the beginning and I've always made it known, I do not want children. I do not want a family. I want just me, my partner, and my dogs. And then it really eliminates a lot of options and it does not make my life easy. I'm very thankful that I found a partner that is on the same page as me. But it's hurtful, because I get a little bit hurt, the other person gets a little bit hurt, and it kind of just foils the whole thing, from the get-go. But you know what? That's the whole process of dating people. But yeah, no, that's been a hard road for me. That's another thing that's been hard for me is not only hearing it from people, but also finding a guy, because I feel like guys are I feel like, and there's nothing wrong with this, but I feel like men have that, tendency to like plant their seed, spread their seed, like the caveman kind of like, mentality that they want like the line of their genetics to be continued, which I totally understand. And I think it's like disgusting that someone said to Caroline, "Oh, you're so beautiful. I can't even believe you're not going to have children." Like that's a very like chauvinistic like way. I mean, like, would you say that to somebody who has Down syndrome? Like, it's a very like funneled Darwinism type of comment. I feel like that is, which is just like, just so disgusting.
So let me address this one. So Jay, tell hungry kids in Africa that food is not happiness. Good luck. So I don't even know how you can make that a parallel, man. Because like here's the thing, Medican, answer this question, right? Let's say that you had a lot of options, right? Let's say you had several women who would gladly date you, but all of them said, "I don't want children. It's a deal breaker. I do not want children." How well would you take it, or would you be like, "No, sorry, I need somebody, who does want to have children"? And so, what would your answer be to that?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I want to hear what his answer is. I'm happy Carolina's going to come on and join us.
Right, because I know for you, Carolina.
Oh, you asked me? Sorry, couldn't hear.
No, I was just welcoming you to the.
Oh, thank you.
Well, no, I was just saying hi.
Hi.
Hi. It's a very interesting topic, Tara, because I think people usually expect every woman they know to have children, right? But some of us don't want them, right? It's, I don't know, it's
It's completely normal, but people find it to be such a shocking response.
yes, exactly. They find shocking, right? I don't. It's like I said, like there's a person that told me, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful. Why aren't you having children?" My God, so you have to be beautiful to have children. What about
Yes.
responsible, right?
Right? I mean, no, you're beautiful, so you don't have to worry about anything. Pop out as many kids as you can possibly have, and their life will just be based on your beauty. That's it.
Yes.
And that's the only goddamn reason you're on this earth.
That's what I think a lot of people view it as. They view it as this. They view it as, well, you know, you can have children, so why aren't you having children? I mean, it's like, you know, saying to somebody, like, the perfect example, I hate eggs. I don't like the food eggs. I just can't eat eggs. And that's like somebody telling me, like, well, you can eat eggs. Why don't you just eat it? Because I look at my boyfriend's, let's say my boyfriend gets like a really nice like crab or lobster eggs Benedict, and it just looks so good, and I want to just take a bite of it, but my taste buds are like, no, you're gonna hate it. But that's like someone saying to me, well, you can eat it, so just eat it. It's not a big deal, just eat the eggs. But it's like, I don't like eggs, you know, I don't want children. Just because I have the ability to do it doesn't mean I'm going to do it. I mean, it's just crazy that people really just, you know, taint you into this like concept.
Eggs are bad for you anyway. Bullshit. I used to eat like 6 a day in high school, but
Protein.
I like eggs.
They're good.
You know what is a thing I hate? Mayonnaise. I'm a terrible snow person because I hate mayonnaise. But
I just got into mayonnaise actually.
well, you know your taste buds change every 7 years. See, that's why
7
you
years.
like different stuff. Every cell, actually, no, every cell in your body has been replaced every 7 years. So in theory, every 7 years, you're actually an entirely new person.
Anamorphous into a new person.
Oh,
Jay,
that's
do you have
hilarious.
this guy Hubert's phone
Who's
number?
to?
Because I want to hit him up because we're a perfect match for each other.
Oh yes, yes, that's right. I saw that. He's like he doesn't want kids. He just wants someone to s his d. Apparently you're a perfect man. Listen. I can make it happen.
The thing
I
is
can
that
make
I'm
I
not
can make
good
it
for
happen.
having. You know, since considering I'm not good for having kids, I have to be good at least one thing in life, and I guess that's it. That's all I amount to. Since I don't want children.
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah. Imagine that, right? Imagine that. It's like this because I'm, you know, I don't see how my life would be now if I had children before, you know. I think my life is pretty cool. You know, I'm in a very good place now, you know, and if I had children, I think it would be a little bit complicated, you know,
Right.
and especially today because parents are not raising their children very well lately, you
No.
know. And imagine you raise your children well and they have to deal with this, you know, with these children that are not being well raised,
Right.
you know, because I know people that they had children for the sake of having children. I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but I know many people, you know, that they don't even like spend time with their children because they wanted to work, but since they were married and society demanded that from them, and I think it's really sad, they decided to have children. You know, I think that's a very bad decision to have children. You
It's
know,
that's very I guess you know what, maybe I wouldn't call it selfish, but it's very diluted. People
yeah,
people just really, you know, think about only something like that in the moment and in the near future. They're not thinking about it long term. And then, you know, divorce happens and broken families happen and damaged children happens and trauma happens. And then you're sending these kids out into the world. Meanwhile, you could have just not had a child and it would have been
Yeah.
such a simpler situation.
Thank you. I've always said that because all these people who like, and again, it's not our business to tell them not to, but there are people who, should not be parents, and we all know them, and they do it anyway. And in the end, the people who suffer are the kids, because they end up with parents who had no idea what they were doing. They got drunk and screwed one night. They were not ready to like I'm going to tell you, when I was young, I was like very paranoid about using condoms. Even if the person I was dating at the time was on the pill, I was still very paranoid about using condoms, because I was like, I cannot have a children in my 20s. I'm like, I'm still growing up myself. I don't know the first thing about that. If I have a kid now, I'm gonna screw this up. And I've seen it happen to people. Like, they got drunk and screwed one night, didn't wrap it up, and next thing you know, here comes. And that's not to say that like you can't get in a happy situation from a thing like that. Sometimes, like, it can be a blessing in disguise. But for me, I know I need to be at a certain level of financial resources, be fully grown myself, before I can have children. And that's coming from someone who does want one. But you still want to make sure that just because you can doesn't mean you should do it, just for the sake of doing it. You want to make sure that you want. I would hope, if I bring a child to this world, that like they have a good have a good life growing up. I mean, we had me and my brother and sister. I mean, our lives weren't like like super hard or anything, but we had some childhood traumas that we're still working through now as adults. I've had to put distance, as you said earlier, putting boundaries up, even with like your own family, and it can be hard, but you have to do it, because I've had things even within my own family that we just don't see eye to eye at all on. And it's like, at the end of the day, they're your family and you still love them, but like at the end of the day, I learned what I learned is that like you have to be very vocal about what you want in life, because other people will try to kind of pigeonhole you into what they want for you. And if you don't want it, you're gonna be miserable. Like, I think my father, and he wanted a certain career for me, that I think if I was doing that career, I would just blow my brains out, because I found it so boring.
It wasn't suited for you at all.
It was not. So, and it's like, it's the same, like, even like stuff like that, where parents try to pigeonhole their kids into certain careers, like, because they did that career, they think it's going to be a career where they're going to make a lot of money and they're going to have a better life than they did. But if somebody does not want to do something and they end up doing it, they are going to hate their life. And we see it a lot. Stony Brook University, which is in Long Island, right, has really high suicide rates, because there's a lot of parents there who are forcing their kids into these high status and high income STEM fields that they're not really, I would assume a lot of them are not really interested in.
I'm sure that's like a very like yuppie area too. I mean, I can only imagine. So, you have these kids growing up and they want just a normal life and a normal friendship, and then, their yuppie parents are just forcing them down a path of, nose to the grindstone, and that's not emotionally, where they're trying to go in life. And it's just like, if you're right-handed and they're tying, your right hand behind your back and telling you to write with your left hand, it's not natural. It doesn't work out.
Let's address this comment here, because this actually, I think I have something to say on this. So Medican is saying these two women are the reason why we have reverse demographic pyramid. Memes are writing itself. So what he's referring to is the dropping birth rates. So, which, yes, that is a fact. We are having dropping birth rates. But again, like that at a societal level, that can be problematic. But again, like I've always been of the mindset that like larger societal problems, we can't take away individual freedoms that's where I draw the line at fixing societal problems. You can't take away individual freedoms to solve societal problems. You can't. We have no right to tell somebody how to live their life, to fix up. We can, even really, Like you can incentivize. I mean, and the government already does really incentivizes, when you think about it, really incentivizes both men and women to have children. Look at all these benefits we get from the government right now. If you have children, right?
Yep.
I think the
First is
main reason,
yo.
Jay, I think the main reason people are not having children is number one, economic reasons.
Yep.
And second, it's the state of the society, the way it is nowadays, you
Oh,
know.
that's a big one. Yeah.
So when you look at it, like the amount of crazy people out there, I think that disencourages a lot of people, and not, I don't consider myself to be blamed for the dropping numbers, but there are some men, for example, that they are not fit to be parents, to be fathers also.
Yep.
So, and it's really complicated. It goes just it goes beyond just to women not wanting to have children. I
Yeah.
think it goes way beyond that, and I don't think society or mankind will end because we're not having children.
No, the world is so overpopulated right now, in my opinion.
Mhm.
That's not going to happen. I don't want to say the word ever, but I'm going to say I think ever, because a lot of people still do have that DNA structure where they have to reproduce, and cultures are very different. A lot of worldly cultures are a lot different than American culture. So that's really, I don't see any worry for that anytime soon.
So I mean, we have places of the world like Japan where like they do have a serious birth rate problem. Like when this generation of boomers in Japan retires, they're going to have a serious labor force problem because they don't. It's really hard to gain citizenship in Japan. They don't let anybody in. So a lot of the current boomers in Japan, that was the culture, right? There's this saying. I don't know if you guys ever heard the saying, Japanese businessmen live at the office and commute to home.
No, I've never heard
Yes,
that,
I
but that's
heard.
funny.
Japan is a really work ethic is highly valued in Japan. So a lot of boomers even and Gen Xers did not have children because they were focusing on their careers, both men and women. So now they are going to have a problem in labor force, which is going to affect their GDP. But again, it's that was their right to do so. I think you can't really tell people hey, you got to have kids because our country is going to be screwed with the next generation. Like they're going to have to be more open to letting immigrants in. That's the only
That's
way
it.
they'll solve that problem.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think a good message for people is like be responsible while raising your child, your children, or before deciding what you're gonna do, if you're gonna have children or not, because there are a lot of
My GDP.
yeah, the GDP. So I think that responsibility is the key here, because as I mentioned, I see a lot of couples that they have no clue what they're doing, and the children are the ones that suffer the most, and they're the children that are going to be here in the future. So it's
Yeah.
really sad.
It is something too where I'm just like Mary and I want to have kids. For us, it's mainly economic, and a little bit of just some stuff we're working through before we have kids. But it's like yeah, you bring up a good point with the way society is like now. It's like, do you really want to bring kids into this mess? Like it was never. I don't know about you, Cap, but like our childhood, like it's an entirely. Do you feel like it's an entirely different world that we live in now versus when we were growing up?
Oh my God, without even a question. Yeah, I mean, I could name, 25 things off the bat. I mean, it's just crazy how different children have it growing up. I mean, even the 4-year difference between my sister and I, like I referenced in the beginning, I'm 30 years old, so I was born in 90. My sister was born in 94. My mom was not an anti vaxxer, but I didn't get any vaccines. and my sister got all the vaccines. And I mean, this is a whole separate political conversation, but I mean, just even that growing up, it was just such a different world for her and I. Even though we were 4 years apart, I was sent out, to go play, like, flip rocks in the backyard. When I was her age, when she was, yeah, did I say that right? When she was my age, while I'm playing out in the backyard, by that point in time, she had a TV in her bedroom, and she was like confined to her bedroom, like playing on like her Leap pad, iPad, watching her TV. And I was in the backyard, like literally picking up worms and like playing like fishing games with, like, the leaves that were falling on the ground. I remember I used to get like spare twigs and put a string on the end of it. And I used to try to go fishing for like fake fish, which I used to call, like the leaves that had fallen on the ground. But meanwhile, my sister was like speaking in a whole nother language. I mean, it's just crazy. Like, there's definitely positives and negatives to being a child being brought up in today's world. But in my opinion, I think that there's more negative in the terms of like pressure, social aspect, and emotional development. I think that there is a lot of decline in that aspect if you're bringing a child in this world today. Does anyone else feel me on that?
Yeah, I
I
feel like
agree.
kids can't really be kid. Oh, here, you go first, Carolina, and then I'll interject.
Thank you, Jay. I completely agree with you, Tara. I'm in Brazil, and I'd say I have a pretty decent childhood, you know, and and it's really weird to see the way children are being raised today. It's completely different now, even here in Brazil. And I think the values that our society, because here in Brazil, at least our society, the values of our society is rooted in family. So here, our families, whatever happens, we stay together. And even though things are very, very difficult here, especially economically speaking, because for a couple to decently raise a child here, so you can go to a good school, or because public schools in Brazil, you can't put your children in public schools, so you have to have money for private schools. And even though you need also money to put them to study English in a private English school, and so on. So it's very, very expensive in Brazil for you to raise a child uh,
Mm-hmm.
in a good manner. But even
I
though
just
that,
want to
go
real
on,
real
Jay.
quick. I don't mean to cut you off. I do want to address this comment right here, and then we'll go right back. First says all this hyperanalyzation of aesthetics are a form of severe mental illness. I really couldn't agree more. But like, you're born with a smartphone in hand now, so that's what happens, unfortunately.
Yep.
Yeah. And in Brazil, it's very difficult. And for example, when I grew up, we were playing on the streets, we were riding bikes on the streets, and now you can't do that at all.
No, nope. That's how Jamie and I grew up. I mean, it's
Hmm.
crazy. I mean, when I was young, all we did was play manhunt until 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, and we were over each other's
Hmm.
houses with no cell phones. Our parents didn't know where we were. We would start off at one person's house and then hop to the next person's house and the next person's house, and maybe we would be dying in
Hmm.
a field of alcohol poisoning at the age of 14. But it put hair in our chest, and we grew thick skin because of that. And now bringing a child into this world is just so, for me, it's so unfathomable because everybody is
Yeah.
sensitive about things, and there's so many articulations to there's so many political views happening now. And you also just don't know about a future for your child because if you are not so financially set up, if you the thing is that I was reading an article that the middle class is disappearing. So if the middle class is disappearing, you're either going to be on one end of the spectrum or the other. And if you're on the other end of the spectrum, really, what kind of chances are you going to give your child? And for me, that's just not something that I could bear. If I did want to have a child, or rather, if I didn't want to have a child for the reasons of these political views, that would be my number one reason as to why, because me and my boyfriend, we're doing perfectly fine as we are right now. We have a beautiful house. We have 3 dogs. The dogs are expensive enough. I can't imagine making myself happy with also supplying my child with school supplies, food, games, just, birthday parties, everyday expenses, braces. Like, I just can't imagine not being able to give my child that. And that's another reason as to why. That's like a small reason as to why I don't want children, but it's there. I mean, I just can't imagine gypping my child knowing that my future is going to be thinned out so much. It just doesn't feel consciously right for me. And I bet a lot of other women probably feel that as the front and foremost. Yes, I have 3 dogs.
I agree.
So, I will say, it's kind of like kids aren't really like kids anymore. They kind of like miss out on childhood. Because I don't know about you guys, but like, I know I told this story, but like when the pandemic first started, we saw like, me and Mary were driving and I saw kids playing outside and it was like weird. It felt like out of place because you don't really see like kids play outside anymore. And I was like, growing up, like that's like all we did. You know what I mean? Like we were always outside. There was kick the can. There was manhunt. Like it was, I'm like, I'd give like anything for that back. And if you showed me a smartphone when I was 10 years old, I would have called bullshit. I'd be like, this isn't going to be a real thing in our lifetime. I'm not going to be able to have that kind of like the introduction of like the technology we have now. It's good. It's a double-edged sword. It really is, because like it connects us, but it also like everybody is up in your business 24/7, and I cannot. Sometimes I really cannot stand that. I have actually like I one time my phone, I had like 130 messages and it was buzzing in my pocket for 5 minutes straight. There's like group chats going off and other people texting me, and I'm not even joking you. Like I was driving and I had like a mini panic attack. I started gritting my teeth and like punching the steering wheel, and like I had to pull over because I got dizzy. I was getting so like, has that ever happened to you guys where you're just like your notifications are like nonstop and like, shut the fuck up.
You
guys, fuck up, everybody. Shut the fuck up.
You guys used to do it. We remember when we had like 6 people in our group chat, and then I would come back to my phone and I would literally have 83 messages like, okay, this is where I drop my phone in the river now. Thank you and goodbye.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my god. I was like, what did I wake up the one time? I was like, I'm sorry guys, but I'm not reading all this.
No, yes, most definitely.
And meanwhile,
most definitely.
That's like what kids are growing up with. Just like Carolina said, things are just so different. Like the technology just sucks you in, and it's just crazy.
First comment here. Yeah, if you don't punch steering wheels, that's beta AF. You gotta punch steering wheels.
Yeah, and imagine your child having a cell phone, and they have now, and they've been having since a long time already. You know, because I know parents that they just give them cell phones and tablets to children so they can calm down. Imagine that.
It's crazy.
Instead of,
there's so much less face-to-face interaction, which, like I said, causes a severe decline in the socialization aspect, which causes increase in anxiety, which I could go off on a whole tangent about, medical bills and the cost of drugs, and how people are taking all these drugs. It's just crazy. I don't know. That's definitely one of the reasons as to why I do not want to have a child, because it's just so, the world is very overwhelming right now. I mean, I find I find simple things in my life to kind of just like bring me back down, but like most of the days I wake up and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's just crazy. Everything happening around us.
Medican, you're saying that she's bragging about her unlimited data. Well, that's not what she's saying. But the point here and you would have this too. If you had 300 messages, you'd start getting anxiety because like, who do I respond to first? Who is this person going to be mad if like I don't reply to their text? And you start getting like you start like bugging out. It's at the point where like I don't even feel bad anymore. I just kind of like I mean, I know there's times where you've texted me and I feel because I'm like, oh shit, I never like got back to you. Oh well, like, and I know you don't take it personally. I don't take it personally. It's just like everybody's busy. Like, you know what I mean? You just look at it that way. But it's like sometimes when it's too much, it gets like it's like really stressful. It's like I just wish there wasn't this. I wish people like didn't know like what I was doing all the freaking time. And I've like taken breaks from like social media before, but then like the people who like don't live nearby, you lose touch with them. And it's just like then you're like too out of the loop. So you got to find like that happy medium. Our friend, we'll just call him our little boobala. He does it really well. He's like almost never on like social media, and I feel like his life is pretty you can just tell when like he's around. And I mean, granted, like he doesn't live near here anymore, but whenever he's around, you can just tell he's on like a lower like he just seems like he's in the moment, like he's kind of like in the zen, like he's able to like enjoy the moment. Like what I hate with like the phones is like when you go out and everybody's like nosing their phone. And I'm guilty of it too. I admit I'm guilty of it. I'm certainly not saying that like I've never done this, but like you ever like gone out and like everybody's on their phone and like it's like what?
Oh, completely. They're just completely out of touch.
Yeah. Oh, I have a group of friends that we cook once a month.
Ooh, cool.
And yes, it's really cool. Once a month, we organize a dinner in someone's house, and phones they stay in the car. No pictures are allowed. We made our rules. Yes, no pictures are allowed. Everybody knows where we are, and it's great. And it's perfect because we talk to each other. We know what's going on in each other's lives. I turn off the notifications on my phone. Everything is off. Everything's off. I look at my phone when I want it. I don't let it run me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like you can remember things that happen more vividly too, because you're not distracted, visually or audioly. I don't know if that's a word, but you're not distracted.
I think auditorily.
Auditorily.
Yes.
Yeah. You're not visually or auditorily distracted from your phone.
Unless it's an emergency that there's a client of mine, a patient of mine, or something else, I just, it's just turned off. All the notifications are off on my phone. And as I said, we meet, there's this group that we meet once a month, and we make some dinner, and each one of us is, you have to prepare a meal, and we just go to everyone's house. And we just talk. As I said, it's very different because when we go out with other friends and we have our phones, everybody's with their phones and taking pictures and posting, which is good and cool at a certain level. But you have to be there with your friends, right? Talking, exchanging experiences, knowing what's going on around, in my case, flirting now because I'm single now. So
you go, girl.
Yes.
I think we had a good balance in the days of AIM, AOL Instant Messenger, and I know a lot of our Zoomer audience probably doesn't even know what that is, but like you actually had to be at home to use it because we didn't have like smartphones, but you had AIM and you could like just chat up your friends. But like when you weren't like in front of your computer, right? You'd actually like when you were actually hanging out with people, like people weren't buried in the phones yet. So you actually like that's why I think like the memories from like those days are like a little more vivid because there's been so many times where I've like gone out and like I've been on the phone too and like I missed like half of what happened. It's just like
it was a whole different world back then. And I feel like kids now who are being brought up in this type of world truly are just gonna, I mean, you know what? As a human, you know what? Like you adapt to your surroundings. But I just feel like in comparison, man, we really had like a great childhood. I mean, I used to babysit these two boys where if they couldn't watch this like Lemonade Duck song on YouTube, they would have a meltdown. And I couldn't comprehend that concept that this was literally happening. And
Look at this comment here. Women now commend more men than 1800s generals, all at the swipe of a thumb. So pretty much, like you could tell, like would you ever tell like George Sherman to suck your dick, like your army, your Union Army ain't shit.
I mean, I'm all about it. I'm all about the women empowerment now. But yeah,
Oh.
I just these are all reasons as to why I do not want to bring children into this world and why I wish people would just zip it when I bring this topic up. Or even when I don't, even like the completely unsolicited comments like the one that I got at the party that I was referencing. Like I didn't even have a conversation about that. This person brought it up like just out of like nowhere and I was just completely shocked about it. But I feel like, I'm so happy for the generation that I grew up in and I kind of want to just leave it at that.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'm the same. Like I still I do want to have children, but like it's just like it's gonna be we're just gonna have to we're gonna have to find like a or like Mary and I we're gonna have to find a new way to parent almost. Like I know this is like not popular, but I am not giving like a 4 or 5 year old an iPad.
Oh, good
That's
God,
not
no.
happening. Like
Don't. Yeah.
How old were each of you when you received your first cell phone?
18.
Yeah, I think I was 17.
I think, because the cell phone here in Brazil, I think it arrived in 1993, 94.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was 21 when I had my first cell phone. Yeah, 21.
So among the same age era, we all were, give or take a year or two, which is so different now. You can't go to fucking Olive Garden and not hear Paw Patrol on an iPad behind you. Like, oh my God.
Yes.
It's just such a different world. I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, it
Let me
is.
just
It
call
is.
out this one. Gaming is shit these days. Yeah, it definitely is. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I got older and it wasn't their target audience, but like, does nothing for me anymore. Off topic, but just needed to call that out.
Word.
But yeah, it's just so it's almost like the people who are parenting got to like find a way to like you gotta like adapt to like the new times, just because like there's so many more things you have to worry about now. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, but like I don't think it's good.
Yeah.
Like I know for a fact that like having like smartphones and tablets and everything, it's high speed internet. Me and our friend, you know, Cap, our friend, he's quite tall. He's
Yeah.
into
Yep.
men. Me and him were
Very
discussing
Grove.
at one time how high speed internet has like ruined our attention. Like like you're a kid, and like when I first had AOL, like it took like 3 minutes to load a web page. Now if something doesn't load in 20 seconds, I'm getting like frustrated. But I don't like I will admit this anymore. I cannot read a book anymore. I dead ass cannot read a book anymore. Like I don't have the attention span for it. I feel like I like flip between like YouTube videos sometimes. That's how I watch like a whole like thing. I like flip between like three. I have like three tabs open and I'm watching like three things. My attention span is freaking destroyed.
You're a disgrace.
I mean, you're not wrong, but tell me this had none of that effect on you.
No, I'm dead though. I mean, I feel the same way. I definitely multitask heavily on my cell phone. Like I'm taking, selfies on Snapchat while going over to Words with Friends, while being in this group chat, while also texting one of my friends. And it's just like, and then I wonder, why am I so burnt out? But I definitely do try to read and stuff. And I have this one author who I love who keeps me current. But, you know, we are now in the day and age of, ebooks and Kindles, and they're probably going to have, electronic textbooks in school. I wouldn't doubt it, on the kindergartners' laptops, or sorry, iPads, that they'll probably soon be supplying to our children. Not my children, but somebody's children.
True.
Yeah, I wonder when schools are gonna switch to like digital textbooks.
Here in
Yeah.
Brazil, they have. In
Really?
Brazil, yes, some schools they have it here, public and private schools here. They provide tablets for the children, especially with this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So some public schools they were given tablets here, believe it
Wow.
or not.
Wow.
Yes, for the children to so they could have school at home. And
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
yeah, yeah. I think it's very complicated, to manage everything, and we manage everything on the phone, like my patients, my schedule, the courses that I go to, that I always have to go to, but I always have to read books. I always have to buy books because of my profession. Most of the things are in books, so I never stop reading book. But I can say, Jay, that it's complicated because it's like it's a moment that you stop to do something,
Mm-hmm.
and oh my God, you're so used to do a lot of things, with your phone, and you have a book there. You have to take some time to focus and concentrate. So
Yep.
I used to meditate once a week. So I remember it really helped me focus at that time. That
That's
I
great.
was.
I have to get into meditating some more.
It is good. It's very good. I need to right now at this moment. To I forget. I don't meditate anymore. But now making a comparison from the time that I used to meditate and now, I can say, yeah, it was better to focus on books, for example.
Right.
And sometimes it's good just to unplug, turn your phone off, and like just I
Yeah.
gotta really remember to do that like more often. But it's hard. Like sometimes that work life balance makes that hard too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that's the other thing too is like the technology is like blur, especially now that we're switching to like a lot of like work from home type stuff. It really blurs the lines of like it really blurs the lines of like blurs the boundaries, I guess, of personal life and work life and stuff like that. It's all kind of blurring now.
Yeah, it really is, and that creates a lot of, messy. I guess I would say train of thought, because it's very easy to get overwhelmed like that, in my opinion.
Yeah, because you're trying to think about like your work stuff while you're eating dinner, and it's like
Mhm.
and it never was like that, right? It used to be like you just went home and that was it for the day. But
Yeah.
True.
um,
Yeah.
so I want to hear your thoughts on this one. So first,
I
there's the
was I
problems
was
of
just
men and women
thinking
are on opposite sides
I
of the
was
Milky
just thinking
Way.
the same thing. I want to hear more elaboration on that. It's interesting. When I was working for another company, I had a coworker, and he said that pretty much exact same thing, and how different men and women are. And he said to me, I have to read the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. He said it sounds so cheesy, and it sounds so 70s, and it just sounds so dumb. But he said, honestly, it gave me a really good eye opener. He said, you have to read it. And I mean, I never actually ended up reading it. I should rent it from the library and crack it open, but I'm interested to hear elaboration on this comment.
I think men and women are completely different. Everything is different. I think we are more emotional. Men are more rational, but it doesn't mean that they are not emotional as well.
Yeah.
But I think it has technology has different effects on men and women because we as women we multitask all the time. I think it's way more difficult for men to do that, especially with their phones. Because men are more focused. They focus on a problem to solve, and that's part of the evolution. Men,
Right.
when they were like back in the day when we live in jungles and stuff, they had a problem. They have to focus on solving that problem, while we had to keep checking on the children, checking on everyone else, what's going on.
It's true.
So
I feel the same way. I'm on the same page as you with that.
yeah, so I think we are completely different, but it doesn't mean that today men can do what women do and women can do what men do.
Yeah, it
We'll do
doesn't
it
make
in a
one
different way,
right. It doesn't make one less than the other.
most definitely.
Well, look, first is saying they found skeletons on Mars. It's all male skeletons. Well, all I have to say to that is somebody better clean that shit up before Jeff Bezos gets there. He's going to be pissed. But
when he decides to take a 6-minute trip instead of a 5-minute trip out into space.
yeah, exactly. But no, I think I've known this since I was a kid, though, that like men and women are very, I guess just fundamentally different. And I guess the way Cap, I guess like the reason maybe you and I like kind of became like friends is because like you I saw you didn't like behave, I guess, more like some other women did, and we like, I mean, the amount of times you and I have almost died like hanging out when you think about it is pretty astronomical. Like I'd say you were more into like risk taking stuff and like driving jeeps in places they shouldn't be and stuff like that. So
Yep.
I don't know. Like we had fun. I honestly I like like in terms of like if I was told like I can't have children, but like it would come at the cost of like not getting to do any of that stuff I did. When I was younger, I don't think I'd take it. Like you can't. Like if I were to die tomorrow, I feel like I had a pretty happy life. I had fun experiences, got to go fun places, did some fun stuff. When I was younger, like it was.
Yeah.
I feel fulfilled, but
Right.
but it's like I worry that like kids that are born into like the new into the way the world is now aren't gonna have the same fulfillment of their childhood like we had. Like childhood is a relative in the terms of human history. It's a relatively new concept, right? Like even up until like the 1800s, like children were kind of treated as like miniature adults. We didn't really have like child psychology and everything like that. We kind of see how like your childhood really shapes your psychology as an adult, and like it's a lot of trauma can happen when you're a kid that affects you later on in life. And I think like now, as we said, right, with all this access to technology, like anxiety is through the roof, like anxieties that we never really had to worry about when we were kids. So you're going to have a lot more problems in adulthood if you had anxiety as a child.
Completely. And you know what they used to say way back in the day is that a child is seen but not heard. Like you weren't allowed to be a child back in the day, and I think it caused a lot of people to have a lot of issues. I mean, if you look back at the era that you were talking about, when people were growing up in like when children were growing up in like the 30s and the 40s and even into the 50s, they turned into fucking people like Jeffrey Dahmer and like the Zodiac Killer, who had parents who essentially didn't want them. And then look how, I mean, not everybody turns out like that. That's a very generalization of an example. But I mean, just look at it. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. It's just crazy.
Let's read this one here. So Hayashi Sugihara says, "My life sucked. I'm not ready to go." And look, man, I am sorry to hear that. But some people like life does get better for them later on. It's also worth noting not everybody who had a screwed up childhood doesn't have a fulfilled adulthood. I mean, we know some people who like were definitely like late bloomers and stuff didn't start really turning around for them until recently.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree. I think childhood, it's during childhood that we become who we are, but yeah, I totally agree with you, Jay. It's like after when we after we are grown-ups, we can decide to make our life easier or our life harder. It's always up to us, in my opinion. And one of the reasons that I chose not to have children is exactly that. It's because it would be, I think, my life is easier without children
Right.
today.
Right.
But yeah, childhood is the moment that we learn so much. It's the first time that we experience things in life. So, and we are not, we don't have the experience, we don't have the knowledge. We are naive. We are. I don't know this word in English, but it's similar to being naive, and we don't know danger.
Like ignorant.
So
Kind of.
yes, kind of ignorant, exactly.
Yeah.
And when you're gonna go through whatever happens, and sometimes there's a movie called it's an Italian movie, A Vida Bella. I need to find the name in English. It's really, really interesting because it tells a story of a man who was they were captured by the Nazi, and it's an Italian movie, and he takes his son with him, and they were in this concentration camp, and during all the time the father was telling the son that they were doing stuff. They didn't tell the son what was really going on, so they kind of make this fantasy of what is going on so they could go on. It's an amazing movie, very, very beautiful movie. So I think that's exactly what childhood is. It's like when life can be magical, or life can be, can have fantasy in life. That's
Right.
I think it's important, because and if you don't have that during your childhood, it's life is a little bit tougher, I think.
I think we lost Sarah. I know her connection was before she hopped on. She was saying there was some thunderstorms going on. But yeah, no, I agree. Like it's a time in your life that really it defines your identity. So it's important that we don't rush through it. But it is harder nowadays for kids to really have a real childhood and not have to grow up too fast. So I'm grateful for the childhood that we had. Growing up. That's not to say it was perfect. It had it definitely had its problems too. But
Yes, of
yeah,
course.
from what I see happening now, and just kids on tablets all the time, and and it could just be me being like it could just be me a generational gap where I'm like, oh, these damn kids. But I do see something entirely different. So,
No, I completely agree with you, Jay.
so
Totally.
Sorry, guys. I accidentally exited out of the chat for a minute when I closed down my Safari. But yeah, no, I mean, referencing back to what you were just saying about, growing up too fast, and what I was saying about how I made the comment about like the serial killers, and then first comments, yeah, high IQ logical argument right there. Pretty much what that, and then also the comment, don't have children, they'll end up little Jeffrey Dahmers. Tying this all up together, what I'm referencing to, what I think we're all saying right now, is like one big thing is that, like, if you are going to have a child, it's not just like a freaking pet rock. You have to nurture it and really put the time into it, because I mean, of course, you could have a child with the highest IQ, but it's not going. It's like a flower. It's not going to blossom if you don't water it, and if you don't feed it, and if you don't nurture it. And I think that a lot of parents are just, one, taking the easy way out with all these tablets and all the schooling and all of like the play dates. I mean, that's all good and plenty and stuff like that, but I feel like parents don't emotionally connect with their children how they should most of the time. And that's definitely something that I went through growing up as a child. That's actually a part of the reason why I don't want to have kids, because I mean, it just takes so much damn effort to just put emotional work into a child, and you have to do it until they're like, at least a teenager, and then even then it's always transforming. The emotional needs of your child are transforming into one thing to the next until they're about, I want to say, maybe like my early 20s. I was really just emotionally matured enough. But my mom, I was the first of two children, me and my younger sister. My mom had an extremely tough childhood growing up, like very rough childhood. And then her dream was to always, be the parent that she never got, but it didn't work out like that. And I was very different from my mom, just naturally, which caused a lot of ripples through the water. And then pair that with my mom not really having a full understanding about how to emotionally connect with a child. I mean, man, shit just exploded like often. And that's just like another reason why I'm just like hesitant, well, not hesitant, but I'm decided to not have a child, because I was a lot of work growing up and a lot of commitment, and I just don't see my life venturing off into that direction. And I don't want to be the digital parent if I were to have children, where I just, stick an iPad in front of my child, or drop them off at a friend's house, or drop them off at like an after school program and let someone else kind of take care of them. That's not the kind of parent that I would want to be. And just to, throw a shot out there, it's not the kind of parents that I like to see. And I know that's, a shitty thing coming from somebody who doesn't ever want kids, but that's just shitty parenting. It really is. There's no two ways around it, in my opinion.
And I would like to say something before we go, Jay, because I went to the college that I went to was also a big factor for me to make my decision, because I had to go to pediatrics, gynecology and obstetrician internships, and you have no idea what you see. Even with the burn children or burn sector in the hospitals.
Oh, that must have been difficult.
Yes, it's very, very difficult, and that's where exactly where you see how the society is nowadays, because how the lack of attention the parents give to their children, the lack of, it's like it's missing everything, and you see it in a hospital, for example, and that was exactly when I made my decision to not have children, because when you see there's nothing you can do when you're surrounded by all that.
Right.
And you can be the best parent ever, but if if you're surrounded by that, it's not gonna be good for your children in any way whatsoever.
No, it breaks the
Yes.
breaks the relationships down.
So
Exactly.
I want to keep this to maybe like another 10 minutes max, because I know we are going on an hour and a half here, and it is getting late here on the East Coast. But I do want to say, if anybody wants to, maybe come on and give their opinion, let us know in the chat. I think we have time for one guest. What do you guys think?
I'm gonna hop off soon, so yeah, another 10
I'm
minutes, one
cool.
more guest.
But let us know in the chat if anybody wants to come on. But I'm just gonna say my piece on that. I think no, that's kind of what I've been saying since I was younger. I respect the person who goes, hey, maybe having children is not for me, versus the person who goes like, oh well, I gotta do it, and then they weren't, like the person who wasn't suited, right? Be it financially, emotionally, or wasn't in the right headspace, and the children end up, going through trauma because of that. I respect the person who goes like, no, this isn't for me.
The cycle
More
ends here, yeah.
than the person
Yeah.
who tries to force it. Because I think there are plenty of people who know maybe that, like, either A, they just don't want it, or B, they know that they wouldn't necessarily make a good parent. And I'm not saying that you would, but there are definitely people who are, and they go they but some people try to force it and they do it, and then the children go through trauma. So I respect the people who go, no, this is not for me. Maybe this just isn't for me, and I'll find fulfillment. You know, in something else.
Dogs.
Should invite Wheat Waffles for a debate discussion. Yeah, I mean, you know me, I'll debate. I'll debate anybody. I mean, that's on him. I take him on, sure. But you know, it's just a lot of people shouldn't have kids. I despise boomers so much. But you got to okay. Like I have been in that headspace. I don't have anything really. Wheat Waffles is the least worthwhile black pillar to debate. Yeah, probably. And like I said, I'm really trying to move away from that stuff because I spent so much time in that area of the internet, and it just like first is right. Like it really your mental. It's not good for your mental health. I think to perseverate on that too long. And I wanted to. This is why I wanted to like kind of like hear the opposite side of the argument and hear from people, you know, who are very close to me that I've known for a long time, because you know I thought that was really good to just get that perspective out there, because like it's not like it's not talked about, you know what I mean? Like we just have like this expectation of what people should do. But that's why I thought you would make a great guest, Cap, is because like, you know, we've talked about this for a long time, and I know that you're very outspoken about this, so I, you know, if anything, like, you know, it gives my viewers, you know, the opposite side of the you know, of their arguments. And also, like, you know, you can reach, you know, new people, because I know you want this message out there, and you want to speak for the people who don't want to say it themselves.
Yes, exactly.
So
I found this topic very interesting, Jay. I never see anybody talking about that. And I know people that they judge, that I was judged because I don't have children. They say, oh, you're childless. Yes, I am, and who cares?
Exactly.
You know? There you are with child and with children, and so what?
Yep.
You know?
So what? I love that. So what?
Exactly. So what?
It's simple. So what?
And it has to be talked about. It has to be discussed. So congratulations for bringing this topic up, Jay and Tara.
Yeah, thank you. I loved talking about it, and I'm so happy that you joined in, because it's so nice to talk to a woman who gets this. I mean, there's so many women out there, but you know, you'd be surprised about how a lot of them don't want to talk about it because they are embarrassed, they're ashamed, they maybe feel unsure in their decision, and it's a topic that people don't take seriously often, which is very agitating.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
So
You there, Skip?
all right, yeah, I am here, and I think we'll wrap up on this note. So Carolina and Cap, I really appreciate both of you guys coming on, and we can definitely do this again sometime. I just you know, I try to do a stream like usually. I try to do one every week. I'm gonna be starting a new job pretty soon, so it might be to everybody. I know some people in the comments are asking like what kind of content I'm gonna be uploading and doing game. There actually was a gaming video I wanted to do, but again, like it's I try to get a stream in every week. It's just like I'm gonna be starting a new job soon. It's gonna be taking a lot of my time, so we may or may not be uploading depending on, you know, how much of my time that takes. But that's the there. I still want to do a variety of content, give everybody a chance to say their piece, and you know, and you know, address a large multitude of topics. But no, I think this was a really good stream tonight. I think this was a really good conversation, and I hope you know, I hope that that people have gained some new perspective on the issue, and have heard from, you know, from not just one but two women who feel, you know, who've had similar experiences about the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Thank you, Jay.
Great conversation. I loved it.
It was, yeah. It was
all
great.
right.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
guys. Yeah, I'm out. It was nice to talk to everybody.
Yes. All right, guys. So good night, everybody, and we will see everyone next
Good
time.
night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
It was great talking to you. Bye.